step on it? It's getting late. I'm sorry, I'm so anxious. It's just tonight.
We're gonna be okay. Just like always. Whoa.
No. Nick, this can't be happening. No one's gonna help us tonight.
This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge. At the siren, all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 hours. All emergency services will be suspended. Your government thanks you for your participation.
Oh my God.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
You've just had a first look at The Purge: Anarchy, the sequel to 2013's The Purge, which made $89 million worldwide off of a $3 million budget. So it's no surprise that a new franchise has started. What makes this franchise worthy is not only its financial yield, but that the premise allows for unspecified stories and characters. Unlike franchises like Batman, The Avengers, or Die Hard, each time you see a Purge film, it could be totally different characters in a totally different situation. Last time we were inside a home with a family who tried to bunker down because of the 12 hours of lawlessness in America. This time, we're with a young couple stranded in the middle of the city as the purge is about to take place. So suddenly, this becomes a survival movie akin to a Resident Evil type of situation, whereas the first was a home invasion thriller. I'm really excited to see the combination of stories and characters that will come out of future films, because if this film does anything like it did on the first, you can count on a third in 2015. And did I really just see my man Matt Saracen from Friday Night Lights? Government name Zach Guilford. I missed that show, but it will be cool to see him on the big screen in an essential character role. But this is The Purge, and who knows how long he'll last. The Purge: Anarchy is scheduled for release on June 20th, 2014. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the folks over at the Grand Budapest Hotel who sent me this lovely package of macaroons. Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel will be in theaters March 7th, 2014. We're just a few weeks away from the Oscars. In light of that, I want to weigh in on who will win what. So I have friends of the show, Hamilton Whitney, film critic and founder of FilmHamster.com, as well as film enthusiast Chris Oxenford here today to help me with the predictions that may just win you some money in that Oscar pot at the party you go to March 2nd. All ahead on Picture Lock. Every year, there are a slew of movies that come out. While most years the bad outweighs the good, 2013 was a solid year for good films. While the Oscars acknowledge some of the top films of the year, the Academy doesn't always acknowledge them all. In this segment, we'll talk about some of those overlooked films of 2013 that you should check out. Hamilton, Chris, welcome to the show. Guys, before we get started, let's talk about, just in general, how 2013 was for film. What did you think about it, Hamilton?
It was a very good year for film. I think most people would agree. A lot of high quality. As we get into looking at Best Picture later on, we'll notice that everything is so good in that category, and it's just the way that film was this year. There were so many good movies.
Right. Yeah.
Award type and just popcorn flick stuff. There was even really good stuff in there too.
Definitely.
Everything's worth a watch.
Yeah, exactly.
It was definitely one of the best years for film, certainly for a long time. I mean, I can't remember the last time we had a slew of films this good.
Right. Yeah, I feel like every month there was just something that was like, oh my goodness, wow, that was, amazing. It was great. And there was definitely some films this year that I just feel like pushed the art forward in the right direction, So I definitely think 2013 was a good year. All right, so, I asked you guys before 3 films that you think, if viewers didn't check it out last year that aren't, Oscar nominated, but they should check it out. Chris, let's start with you.
Well, I think the first one I'll go for is one that was also one of the best films of 1993. They re-released Jurassic Park in 3D this year, and it was incredibly successful, considering that it was a movie made in 1993 and people were seeing it again for the first time on the big screen. And, I'm 25, so I was way too young to go see Jurassic Park when it came out in theaters the first time. So I got to have the experience of going to a movie theater and seeing Jurassic Park for the first time. So I think that was a really powerful thing that they did. And it seems like, given that this was successful and last year in 2012 we had Lion King coming out in 3D again, we might well start seeing a trend of these sort of 3D re-releases of very successful movies from years past.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, who didn't love Jurassic Park when it first came out? But like you said, it allows you to recapture that magic you had as a kid. And then for all the children that didn't see it back then because they weren't alive, obviously they're able to see it for the first time as well.
And I mean, you can see even how well that movie stands up even 25, 26 years after it came out the first time. You can really see why it's a classic.
Right. Yeah, definitely. All right. One of the ones I had on my list was The Spectacular Now. This is directed by James Ponsoldt. I don't know how to say it, but it starred Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley. And to me, I really enjoyed this film. It was like a nice little love story, but for some reason when I watched it, it took me back to those days of summer camp. Miles Teller, he's like that popular guy at school, but he's also a bit of a drunk. So he's dealing with his issues with his father and things like that. And just the way that they told the story, it really felt as though they just set up a camera in the lives of these 2 teenagers and just let them go to work, And so I really think that The Spectacular Now, it was one of the ones that I was just very impressed with. But it hasn't really gotten a lot of buzz since then, but it's definitely one that you should check out. Hamilton, how about you?
The first one that comes to mind is definitely Kings of Summer, which got a limited release way back, I think it may have been February. So it was way before, got lost in the last year's Oscars and awards and never really got here, but it's a really interesting coming-of-age story about some young kids who just decide that they've had it with the life they have, they've had it with the adults in their life, and decide to strike out, build a house in the middle of the woods, and live there. And it just sort of resonated with me. Like, I think most kids have that fantasy at some point.
Right.
Let's just go build our own house, have our own rules. And I really, really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it actually, but I definitely want to. I had this dream of running away from home, and I was going to run to the local Bi-Lo, buy a pack of Skittles and some apples, and survive. It might not be like that. All right, another one that I had was Fruitvale Station, directed by Ryan Coogler. To me, personally, especially as a black male, I just resonated with this film so much, and I can't deny, I can't lie, I was crying in the theaters at the end, just because I have a young daughter as well, and if for those that don't know about it, it follows a young man that was gunned down by the police, and it was just unjust thing. unfortunately, it hasn't gotten the legs that I think it deserves. But to me, I think in light of the Trayvon Martin case and this recent case with Michael Dunn, the shooting and everything, I just think that it's like what Spike Lee did with Do the Right Thing. In terms of like kind of the times movie, just telling a story. So that was the one that for me, I was just like, definitely a must see if you haven't seen it.
Seems like there were a lot of those movies that came out this year that sort of deal with, the minority experience. You had 12 Years a Slave, which I'm sure we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
And then you had The Butler that also kind of got overlooked. And, Forrest Whitaker was really powerful in that. Some of the presidents were tragically miscast, but John Cusack was excellent as Richard Nixon, which is not a casting you might have anticipated. I mean,
Right.
John Cusack, and Jane Fonda does a nice Nancy Reagan. I'm sure there are people who will be coming after me with pickaxes now, but Jane Fonda did a really great, and it's an interesting way to look at, I think, experiences that I certainly was never exposed to, and from a different, history from a different perspective.
Right. Yeah, definitely. All right. So let's just go ahead and rattle off the rest. Chris, what else did you have?
Probably the third one I was going to go for would be White House Down, the second of the. Yeah, I know we're talking about all of these like epic, arty movies, and I want to bust out White House Down because while it is an action movie and it's one of those turn off your brains, it's really good at what it does, and it has some really great, really funny moments where you have the president driving around in a limousine being shot at by terrorists. I mean, how often does that happen?
Right. Right. Got to be open to all ideas on this show. White House Down. I was not expecting that.
Awesome. We got to lighten it up a little bit.
There you go.
Roland Emmerich deserves some love too, just because he, makes the popcorn movies.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, so kind of off the wall, but this film, either you loved it or you hate it. For me, it was Spring Breakers, directed by Harmony Korman, and to me, it was something about as even as you said, Hamilton, the cinematography of this film, just the neons and the color of it, that really is just intriguing. But then also, again, I guess I don't know what it is about these youth films that like moved me last year. But again, this is like Spring Break, I mean, like I said that. Just like The Wolf of Wall Street is like 3 hours of debauchery. That is the same thing with this film on a young college level.
Lower scale.
Exactly, lower scale. But it was something about it that like by the end of it, you've been so mesmerized in this like crazy world that like it really did kind of speak to me. And James Franco actually, to me, did a good job because like he really threw himself into that character, and as crazy and over the top as it was, I think he did a great job. And I was kind of I could have seen if he got nominated for something, but I understand that he wasn't. So Spring Breakers was mine. What about you?
A couple others that I think didn't get the attention they deserved. There was another coming-of-age film, The Way Back, sort of flew under pretty much every radar, I think. Don't know many other people that saw it, but it's an interesting story of a young kid who gets a summer job at a pool, meets some really strange characters, learns a little bit about life.
Right.
All the characters in that movie are just really, you kind of have to see it. They're all a bit strange and a bit over the top.
Yeah.
But I really thought it was a funny movie. Also had some interesting stuff to say. And then the last one that it did get a little bit of Oscar notice, there was Prisoners. I think it got a nomination in cinematography. But other than that, it hasn't really been talked about in acting or directing, or I don't think it did that well in theaters either, if I remember right. It's a really intense movie, where there's, I'm blanking on his name now. Help me out here. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
Hugh Jackman.
Wolverine.
He's got yes. His young daughter goes missing, and he's convinced that this guy who is mentally not all there had something to do with it.
Right.
And it straddles the line between what's right and what, does the means justify the ends, and it's really powerful, intense movie worth seeing.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Again, being a father myself, when I watched that movie, I was like, yeah, I could see, you lose your religion after when your kid is in peril. You know what I mean? Like hey, does the end justify the mean, like you said? And I love that film. I even thought like it was a good twist at the end. I felt like there's one scene that like at the end that if they had cut that off, it would have been perfect, because they just tied it up really neatly. And it's like, oh, if it was just a little bit open-ended, I think it would have been
the ending's still a little bit open-ended there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of not quite sure what's going to happen, but it's hinted at.
The whistle.
Yeah.
It was, I think it's pretty obvious, but who knows? All right, cool. Well, stay tuned. Keep listening. We'll be right back with our main category Oscar predictions. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Ariana Almajan.
Melissa Temmie.
I'm Allison Howard and the creator of the original web series, The ABCs of Online Dating.
You can catch the first 4 episodes at abcsofonlinedating.com.
And you're watching Picture Lock.
You're watching or listening to Picture Lock, where we focus on film. For the past 85 years, Hollywood has acknowledged its best films, and this year is no different. The 86th Academy Awards will take place March 2nd, and we want to get you ready. So, gentlemen, let's start with the Best Actor category. We're going to do this a little bit different. We're going to talk about who will win, who we think should win, and who could win. So, Hamilton, I'll kick it off to you.
All right. For Best Actor this year, my vote for the prediction would be Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club. It's a little bit cliche to say he's thrown himself into the role physically. It's true, though. You watch this movie, he's completely transformed. I think he lost, I don't know how many pounds. I think he lost more than was safe, and they made him gain more back before filming, which is really scary.
Yeah.
But it's if you haven't seen it, it's a story about a guy dealing with having AIDS during the beginning of the AIDS epidemic and trying to find a solution outside what the medical community will allow. And it's a really good movie, and he's one of the better parts in it. I'm sure we'll get to another part later.
Yeah, definitely.
But, he's my vote. Another possibility could be Leo in Wolf of Wall Street. He threw himself into the role. He always does a good job, but so he possibility. But my vote, my personal vote, and my prediction is both Matthew McConaughey.
Okay, all right. I'd be remiss if I didn't say who the nominees are, just in case some of people don't know. So Christian Bale is nominated for American Hustle. We have Bruce Dern in Nebraska, Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street, Chiwetel Ejiofor in 12 Years a Slave, and Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club, as Hamilton noted. Okay, so who I have that will win it, as you said, Hamilton, Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club. Obviously, like you said, he really threw himself into the role, literally and figuratively. But just a lot of times I think actors that do that whole weight loss transformation and you no longer think Matthew McConaughey, but instead you're thinking the actual character, tend to kind of come out on top. And I mean, he definitely did, sell that role. So I think he will win. Who should win? I think Chiwetel Ejiofor should win for 12 Years a Slave. I think that, just that film was incredible, and it wouldn't be if he didn't go through all that he went to in preparation for just being a freedman in that time, but then becoming a slave. And you can just watch his character arc throughout the film as he goes from this proud, free man to, he's just broken. And I think he just did an incredible job in the film. Who I think could possibly win. If it's not, Matthew or Chiwetel, I think might be Bruce Dern for Nebraska. And basically, Nebraska, I almost want to say that's another, you either like it or you hate it. It's black and white, and it's Bruce Dern finally, I guess, getting some accolades a little bit later in life, but I really did feel like, again, he was just an older gentleman that walked on in front of the cameras and just, he was totally into the role. So will win, should win, could win. That's who I'm thinking.
Yeah, I haven't seen Dallas Buyers Club, so I can't really comment on the Matthew McConaughey bandwagon. But from what you all are saying, it sounds like he definitely has a good shot. I agree that Chiwetel Ejiofor, that guy. I really think he deserves it for 12 Years a Slave, though. That movie was incredibly powerful, and I don't think it would have been nearly as good if it hadn't been him playing that character. You really connect with him as Solomon Northrop. I also agree with you about Bruce Dern, though. I think he inhabits that character, and you feel, like you even start to worry a little bit about Bruce Dern and wondering if he's starting to slip away a little bit, because he plays that role just so well, and it's really incredible. It feels like they strapped the camera to the guy's car and took us back to his Nebraska hometown, and it really feels like a true performance. But I also think there's something to be said for Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. He's not one we've talked about. I think he did a really great job of playing a really despicable human being. Jordan Belfort is someone that, I feel like a lot of people will want to punch in the face after they saw this movie. And I think it's a real credit to Leonardo DiCaprio that, while you want to hate him, he's still, you can see how charming this guy is and how he was able to pull all this business, shenanigans over, and how he got away with it almost. Because he's Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's got this really strong charm, and he does a really excellent job. So, I would put him under the should win category as well.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's move on to Best Actress. The nominees, Amy Adams in American Hustle, Cate Blanchett in Blue Jasmine, Sandra Bullock in Gravity, Dame Judi Dench, I'm sorry, and Philomena, and then Meryl Streep, who's always on there, in Osage County. So, Chris, let's start with you. Who do you think will win, should win, could win?
For will win, I really feel like it's Sandra Bullock's year. I know she's probably won before. I think Gravity was a really excellent film, and since she was basically the only actor in that film other than George Clooney for like 12 minutes and Ed Harris's voice.
Spoiler alert.
That film, I mean, she really, she was that film. Without Sandra Bullock, Gravity would not have been the film it was. It would have been a completely different film. And that speaks to her talent and her skill that she was able to carry this film almost completely by herself. It's like, she was basically interacting with a green screen a lot of that time, and you don't see it. It feels like, again, it's one of those movies that feels like you're actually in the depths of space, and it's really cold, and you're really scared that she's actually going to die. And I really think Sandra Bullock has a really strong claim to being Best Actress.
Nice. Sorry for the interruption.
That's pretty much what I've got. Sandra Bullock's going to get it, and she should get it.
Yeah, I mean, your argument was so good that, it kind of made me kind of think, I see your point. Will win for me, I think Cate Blanchett. Now, I will admit that I have not seen Blue Jasmine yet. I'm planning to see it, but from what I've heard and from what I've seen in terms of award season, she's just on a roll right now.
Yep.
So obviously she must have just thrown herself into the role. So who do I think will win? Cate Blanchett. Who do I think should win? Cate Blanchett. Because everybody is just like going crazy about it. But who do I think could win? I said Amy Adams because, you know, in American Hustle, I think she played like a duplicative character, is like two-sided, and you know, I mean, as an actor or, you know, actress, you have to not be Kevin Sampson, you have to be that character. But then not only that, like to be two different characters and just the psychological things that are going on in that movie, and with her character, I do think that it could be a possibility. Plus, you know, it's kind of like her turn in the young actresses category when you think about The Fighter, and you know, she's been doing really well. So that would be who I think could possibly win. Hamilton, what do you think?
Yeah, okay. Well, we might get some deja vu here, Kevin. Who will win? Cate Blanchett. I think one thing that really speaks to it is how early that movie came out, and people are still talking about her performance. Wow. And the fact that I didn't really like the movie all that much overall, but her performance is still just so great that her character sticks in your head.
Yeah.
It's so layered, so intense. She's a little bit crazy. You sometimes are rooting for her, sometimes not, and really good performance that sticks in a lot of people's minds, I think, and I think it's going to stick in the Academy's mind too.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's who will win and who should win. And then who could win, I was also thinking Amy Adams.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same track you were on there. I mean, American Hustle has been doing really well,
Right.
and her performance obviously was one of the more important in the film.
Yeah, definitely. She's like a linchpin in the film, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's move on to Best Supporting Actor. And the nominees, Barkhad Abdi and Captain Phillips, Bradley Cooper in American Hustle, Michael Fassbender in 12 Years a Slave, Jonah Hill in The Wolf of Wall Street, and Jared Leto in Dallas Buyers Club. For me personally, who I think will win is Jared Leto. You know, in Dallas Buyers Club, again, this is we're talking about an actor that just embodied the character, and on top of that, where has he been? You know,
Playing music.
Yeah, like it's like all of a sudden here he is, and like he just nailed that role. I think he really embodied the confusion maybe of the time, or you know, just I guess dealing with dressing as a woman, dealing with like
He was convincing.
yeah, dealing with his father. Like you just really felt for that character, and I think that that character coupled with Matthew McConaughey's really allowed you to kind of get into the film, even though it seems like maybe this could be a played out subject, or you know, oh, the 80s AIDS, like we've come so far from there. From then till now, those two guys definitely allowed you to really get drawn into it. And so I think Jared Leto will win. Who should win? Michael Fassbender, hands down to me, should win. Seriously, because in 12 Years a Slave, like as I watched that film, I was afraid. Like I was like, when Steve McQueen yelled "cut," did Michael Fassbender stop? He was that evil. He was that mean, and I just literally like I felt the fear that any slave would have had at that time. So to me, like I just feel like Michael Fassbender, like he should win, because you know, hands down, I was just like, whoa, that he threw himself into that role, seriously. Who could win? Bradley Cooper for American Hustle. Why am I saying he could win? Mainly because it seems like some people are kind of sympathetic to his cause. So I don't know. to me, I don't think like he should or will, but like maybe he could. I don't know. Hamilton, what about you? What do you think?
My choice would also be Leto. Such a convincing role. Did such a good job in that role. I think you said it all there. I don't need to reiterate, but he's my choice for will probably win. My personal choice, though, would actually be, and I'm going to get his name wrong, but Barkhad Abdi from Captain Phillips. I mean, he just sort of came out of nowhere. If I remember right, I think he was driving cabs in Minnesota, was it? I don't know.
I'm not sure exactly where, but he was
a cab driver.
Yeah.
And he just played this part of this complex Somali pirate that you really feel for. And his performance was, I think, outdid Tom Hanks in that movie.
Wow.
Honestly.
Wow.
I mean, for someone who's never been an actor to come in and, play a multifaceted character is
so real.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I will definitely give you, and I can see how you said that he outdid him. I think over the span of the movie, it was a marathon, and yeah, he outdid Tom Hanks. I think the only reason I say wow is because Tom Hanks in the last 15 minutes, that transition that he made from like hero to like victim was incredible.
I mean, he did a great job in the movie too, but I really feel like it almost wasn't his show.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you, yeah, you're right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. That was it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
he's my should win and could win.
Okay, cool. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I don't really have that much to add. I think you guys said it all pretty well. I really want to second Michael Fassbender. He was absolutely terrifying in that movie. You hit that one on the head. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add.
All right, moving right along. The Best Supporting Actress, the nominees are Sally Hawkins in Blue Jasmine, Jennifer Lawrence in American Hustle, Lupita Nyong'o in 12 Years a Slave, Julia Roberts in August Osage County, and June Squibb in Nebraska. So, Chris, let's start with you.
I'm gonna guess that Jennifer Lawrence is probably, someone who has a good shot of winning. I think she did an excellent job in American Hustle. Her character, the sort of lazy wife or sort of abusive wife, it was a really interesting dynamic between her and Christian Bale, and I think she had some really great scenes when she was getting dragged into their caper, almost against her will, but also kind of like she was pushing him the whole movie to get him into her caper. I do wonder if she has somewhat of a disadvantage because she, has already gotten an Oscar. I think the other one, I've really only seen 2 movies on this list, so I'm going to say the other one, 12 Years a Slave. I think she was also really good and has an excellent shot of winning it too. And I think all the actors in that movie really deserve, because it felt like you were back there, and she especially, you could feel her terror of Michael Fassbender and how happy she was to get one over on him when she was visiting the other plantation. And I think she did a really credible job, and either of those two really deserves to win.
Yeah. Hamilton, how about you?
My vote is also, prediction would be Jennifer Lawrence. I'm a Jennifer Lawrence fan, and I don't think she disappointed in American Hustle. Her character has some of the best lines, and even though she's really not in the movie that much, I think she's one of the more memorable parts of the movie, and one of the more entertaining.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And also who could win, I'd also go with, for 12 Years a Slave, Lupita. Is that right? Lupita, yes.
Yep.
But yeah, she's sort of picking up some award steam, I think, and also did a fantastic job.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so who I have to win, Lupita Nyong'o. Who should win, Lupita Nyong'o. I mean, again, we're talking about an obvious transformation in this human being as an actor and, taking on that character. And the things that she went through under, Michael Fassbender's hand, you could just see how, like, as she said, she, like, wanted to kill herself. Or she asked Northrop to kill her. Spoiler alert. Sorry, if you haven't seen it yet, I apologize. But, I mean, you could just, you felt the despair, you felt the hopelessness, and you could see how someone would rather just not be alive than to go through the things that she had to endure. So I think she should win and will win it. I did say could win Jennifer Lawrence. I think there's something about her, like we've discussed this before. Jennifer Lawrence is that actor or actress that, like, I would love to just hang out with.
Yeah.
Like, let's just go have some coffee. And, she's going to crack you up. She's down to earth. She's the girl next door. And I think in this role, she played that sloppy, wife, like you said. And she was the comic relief of the film. So I think she could win. Honestly, if she did, I'd kind of be a little disappointed just because I don't feel like she really deserved it. I feel like she did a great job, but I don't know if it was the best supporting actress performance of last year. So that's just my personal thing. All right, so let's move on to Best Cinematography. The nominees are The Grandmaster, Gravity, Inside Llewyn Davis, Nebraska, and Prisoners. Hamilton, let's start with you.
Yeah, okay. I think hands down Gravity. It's one of those films you have to see on the big screen, the biggest screen possible, and it looks incredible. And I mean, props to the visual effects department. Most of that was not on screen, and the fact that they were able to make so much that was not there look good in the ways that it looked real.
Right.
I mean, that's cinematography right there. Even though it's digital, it's still the way that they use the digital camera, and it looks incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely. I mean, that's who I think will win. That's who I think should win. For who might win, I'd put Prisoners in there just because it wasn't nominated for anything else, and I think it deserves a little attention.
Nice.
To be honest, and it looked good too. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
All right, you're finished, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, throw it over to you.
Yeah, I agree that Gravity should win and probably will win for exactly the reasons that Hamilton said. Similarly to why he threw out Prisoners, I'd like to throw out Inside Llewyn Davis. It's another really great looking movie. It really captures the feeling of 1960s New York, and I think the Coen brothers need a little love for that one.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's what I got. That's what I got.
We gotta like tap the table or something when you finish. Okay. Yeah. So I agree with you guys. Hands down, Gravity should win in terms of cinematography. Gravity is one of those films that, like, to me, if you don't see it on the big screen or you didn't see it on the big screen, you need to.
Yeah.
Just the gravity, no pun intended, of space, the magnitude of space. This is one of those films that I think pushed boundaries last year. And, I was really enthralled. And a lot of it is the cinematography, the visuals. It's just stunning. There's times when, you're seeing the sun and, you're just totally impressed. And then there's times when, darkness becomes a villain. It's scary. So, I just definitely, hands down, Gravity. Who could win and maybe should win? I said Inside Llewyn Davis. I just think, I wasn't a big fan of the film, which is kind of crazy to say because I love the Coen brothers. But in regards to the color of the film, I just thought it was, pretty incredible because it was something about the cooler, blues and I guess a little bit of like greenish tint to it that made you feel like, you know, you were in that cold New
I was
York.
gonna say it felt cold.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
whole time.
Exactly. And I think that really, as a cinematographer and with the visuals, it should supplement the film and, you know, help to tell the story. And I feel like because of that coldness, you know, getting into Llewyn Davis's mind, you kind of felt that isolation, the, you know, separate from society.
Llewyn's cold pretty much the whole movie. You know,
Right.
It's like he's always in this really thin jacket. It's
Right.
just like you feel for the guy and you feel the cold in the world that's sort of rejecting him. And I think you're exactly right.
Yeah. Now, we got a little bit of time, so we can kind of, you know, expand upon this. Inside Llewyn Davis, the one thing about his character, and I don't know what you guys thought, but I feel like he never quite made, I mean, he made a small arc and change, but I didn't really feel like at the end of that movie, like there was a difference. What did you guys think?
No, I feel like that's almost the point of the movie, though, is not that he's changing. It's sort of like a slice of his life almost. It's like, you know, you've dropped into this character's life for, I guess it's like a week that the movie takes place over, and you know, you see where he started that week and where he ends that week are almost exactly the same place, and you know, he's one of these people that's sort of drifting through life without motive or, you know, much agency, and I think that's part of what makes the film so interesting, is that it doesn't really have a story or an arc. And I think I read somewhere, and it may have been Wikipedia, so you know, who knows how accurate it is.
Wikipedia.
That the one of the Coen brothers actually said that they deliberately set out with Llewyn Davis to make a movie that didn't necessarily have, you know, the classic story arc.
Okay, well, they succeeded.
Pretty
Pretty
much.
Think?
Yeah, the cat was a little more interesting than Llewyn.
Right.
And the music was very good, though.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the soundtrack for that film.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I felt more for the cat than I did for him. He was just like, you know, kind of jerkish, and it's. I do think that movie, like you said, they're very successful in just showing like an anti-hero, and usually with an anti-hero, even though they're an anti-hero, you like them. I didn't really care for him. So, anyways, that's just my two thoughts.
No, he's definitely very dislikable, and the cat is definitely very sympathetic.
Right, exactly. All right, so let's keep moving forward with Best Director. The nominees being American Hustle, David O. Russell, Gravity's Alfonso Cuarón, Nebraska, Alexander Payne, 12 Years a Slave, Steve McQueen, and The Wolf of Wall Street, Martin Scorsese. For Will Win, I have Alfonso Cuarón. I think, again, we're talking about Gravity. It was just an amazing film, and as you pointed out earlier, Hamilton, most of the film is just green screen. Like there's nothing there, so it's like he had to see this before anyone else saw it, and I think he saw he had an amazing vision, and you know, it definitely came across, and for that, I feel like he will win. Who should win? I think he should win, as well as Steve McQueen. 12 Years a Slave, again, was just an incredible film, and the way, again, it's the director's vision, and I feel like the way that McQueen just told us this story, we were able to see, and part of this is screenwriting as well, but we were able to see a facet of every type of person during that time, whether you were, you know, the slave master, or you were a slave, or you were like selling the slaves. Like, this is the first time that, to me, I felt like I saw every kind of person that was alive at that time. And I think the way that Steve McQueen was able to capture that and depict that was pretty incredible. And not only that, I feel like the soundtrack also coupled with it, with the visuals, the images, it just went really well. So I feel like between Steve McQueen and Alfonso Cuarón, they both, you know, deserve an Oscar. Who could win? I said Steve McQueen. Sorry, I had to do it again. Or David O. Russell, and with American Hustle, I feel like he shouldn't get it, David O. Russell. However, I feel like, you know, he made one of those films that you know, with American Hustle, you want to go back and watch it again because you missed something the first time. And it was just altogether a very entertaining film. So that's who I had. Chris, what do you have?
Yeah, I had basically the same ideas you did, that Alfonso Cuarón and Steve McQueen are the two to beat. I feel like Steve McQueen might have a slight edge because I think 12 Years a Slave is going to win Best Picture, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that later. But, and I know the Academy they tend to give Best Director to the movie that won Best Picture. So I think if 12 Years a Slave wins Best Picture, Steve McQueen will win for Best Director. I think either of them really deserves it because they're both excellent films. I am going to plug Martin Scorsese if either of those two weren't in there, if Alfonso Cuarón and Steve McQueen hadn't brought out their movies. I think Wolf of Wall Street would have had a good shot at winning Best Director for him. I feel like he did a really good job of drawing us into Jordan Belfort's world and showing us the insane amount of debauchery that goes on behind Wall Street. Right. And, you know, I think the film is a really powerful comment on, you know, the what Wall Street was before the crash of 2008. And in a lot of ways, it's a really good companion piece to the other films he's done about that world. So I think he did an excellent job with Wolf of Wall Street.
Now, just to segue for a second, sometimes I feel like with Wolf of Wall Street, is it the fact that he drug us through 3 hours of this? And, like, Leo did a great job in, you know, acting. The cerebral palsy scene was really hilarious, but at the same time, like, it just, like, that was, like, the low. So I kind of wonder was it really the directing, or was it just that we sat through 3 hours and, you know, people say, art, you know?
I mean, it may be the length, although I wonder if they couldn't have cut out maybe just a couple of scenes of debauchery. I mean, I don't know that we needed to see every minute of the cerebral palsy scene, but I feel like there is something, I mean, you know, he had to stage all that, and he found these people, and someone, you know, he had to imagine. Maybe he didn't have to imagine, but there is some degree where he was involved in creating that world or bringing us into that world. And, you know, it's in a lot of ways, it's similar to what he did with the original Wall Street, where he pulled us into Gordon Gekko's world. So you've got, you know, the Wall Street of the 1980s, and now you've got Wall Street of the early 2000s.
Wait, you're not saying he directed Wall Street, right?
Am I wrong in that?
I think, fact checker, I think it was Oliver Stone.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It was Oliver Stone who directed it, but I feel like
I get what you mean.
They fit together very well.
Right. Sorry.
But, you know, yeah, no, I still think they work well together.
I understand what you mean. I'm not trying to blow up your spot, Chris. I'm sorry. I was just like trying to connect the dots and actually pay attention. Okay.
Facts are good. We like facts.
Yeah. All right, are you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
All right, cool.
Yeah, okay.
Hamilton, I'll throw it over to you.
Best Director, I'll probably end up being wrong about it, but I just sort of had a feeling for Scorsese. It's hard to follow up after that there, but it's just a long movie. I know they ended up having to cut an hour out of it. It was originally 4 hours. Wow. But he kept up the same pace, kept things, for almost the entire thing, it just feels cohesive, and I think it's just an immense directorial accomplishment. I'm not sure that he's going to get the recognition for it, but I just sort of had a feeling that he might end up walking away with the award there.
Okay.
Who should win? I think Alfonso Cuarón. Again, he kept together a film that he had to see mostly in his head while he was directing it.
Right.
And it was just amazing the way that he did that.
Yeah.
Dark Horse, I thought Alexander Payne, just because the Academy seems to be giving a lot of love to Nebraska for the type of film it was. It seems like it wouldn't usually get as much recognition, and it pops up in a bunch of different categories there, and I thought he might, probably not, but he's sort of a dark horse, I think.
Okay. Cool. All right, so last but not least, the best Picture category. So the nominees are American Hustle, Captain Phillips. Again, there's 9 nominees, so please excuse me. Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity, Her, Nebraska, Philomena, 12 Years a Slave, The Wolf of Wall Street. All right, Chris, let's start with you on this one.
Well, like I was saying earlier, I haven't seen Dallas Buyers Club, so that may be, completely off my radar screen enough that I could be totally wrong about this. But I think it's really between 12 Years a Slave and Gravity. Those seem to have been the films that we've kept bringing up, and I think they're both really powerful films. I think 12 Years a Slave has a slight edge because of what it's about. And I mean, it's such an excellent portrayal of what slavery was and the minority African American experience. And, it's a really powerful film, and you really connect with those characters. So I feel like 12 Years a Slave has everything the Academy looks for in a Best Picture. And it's certainly a very deserving film. I kind of would like Gravity to win just because I really like that movie. I mean, for all 12 Years a Slave is a really powerful movie. It's not one you can say you enjoy.
Right.
It's not an enjoyable experience to watch that movie. And to me, you're on the edge of your seat for much of Gravity because you're like, is she going to survive? Is she going to survive? But I feel like it's really powerful. You really feel like you're in space and you're in that space capsule with her.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it such an excellent film.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those two.
Definitely. I had 12 Years a Slave as will win and should win. I mean, I just think because of, like you said, the historical significance. And honestly, like, that was a film that I saw in theaters. And after that, like, I don't need to see it ever again because it was just, I mean, like, it's still with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was intense. It was hard. And I just think that, all around the cast, wardrobe, like, everyone that's in it really deserves that recognition because as a whole, it's just an excellent film. Who could win? I said American Hustle or Gravity. I feel like American Hustle, for some reason, I just feel like this would be like an easy pick. I don't really want it to, obviously. Gravity, like you said, Chris, like if it did win, I'd respect that. I mean, it was an amazing film, an entertaining film, and just gripping. So that's who I had. Who do you have, Hamilton?
For should win, I've got 12 Years a Slave. I think it's the obvious choice. I mean, that was my choice from the beginning after the nominations, and it's only picked up steam since then, I think. It's won all sorts of other awards, critic groups. Did it win the Golden Globes? I'm trying to remember.
I think it did.
I think it did.
For Best Picture.
Right. And it just does seem tailor-made to be the winner. Who should win? I really liked Her, which has not gotten a lot of other notice other than being nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
But it was just very original, very timely, very different than a lot of other pictures. The performances in it, Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson, their performances are both amazing, especially when you consider that they're not even really acting to anything. One is a voice, one is somebody talking to a voice that's not there.
Right.
I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was maybe the best movie of the year.
Wow.
Could win American Hustle. It's gotten a lot of love. It's a very entertaining film. It's a possibility.
Yeah. I definitely think that Her has a lot of significance in regards to its timeliness of the here and now.
Yes.
Like, Her is literally us maybe 10 years from now, you know what I mean? So just in terms of that, the fact that it's so ironic that we're so connected with social media, but yet at the same time
disconnected with each other.
Exactly, we're disconnected. When's the last time you picked up the phone to call somebody rather than text them? You know what I mean? So totally different world that we live in now than maybe 15 years ago. So yeah, I definitely see the significance of that.
You mean you're not having a love affair with your smartphone right now? I mean, it's like, it's
I don't think it's
everywhere.
quite socially acceptable yet.
Yeah, yeah.
It's getting there. Siri,
Oh my gosh.
Siri keeps getting smarter. I'm afraid she's going to start sounding like Scarlett Johansson any
She does
day
have
now.
some
Oh, wow.
interesting things to say if you ask her about her. So
Yeah.
Really? I'll have to do that
Yeah.
after we finish rapping. That's funny. All right, guys. Well, that was a great conversation. Thanks again for coming on the show. Chris, appreciate always great having you. Hamilton, always great to have you.
be here.
Why don't you plug the website, let people know where they can find you at?
Yeah, you can find me at www.filmhamster.com, also on Facebook and Twitter. I post my movie reviews, occasional interview or article, Oscar predictions, and give away some passes to screenings in the DC area.
Definitely. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. That was a lively conversation. I really enjoyed it. All right. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is Sonia Dunn, and I'm the director of The Bedroom, and you're watching Picture Lock.
That's all for this episode. I'd like to thank FilmHamster.com founder Hamilton Whitney and film enthusiast Chris Oxenford for coming on the show. Be sure to check out FilmHamster.com for film reviews, interviews, and giveaways. You can also find Picture Lock on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to check out the website for movie reviews, news, free screenings in the DMV area, and if you're interested in being a guest on the show. Until next time, I hope you stay locked on film.